This video is from Laura Fryer, and it says a message to game developers. I'm very curious about this one because some people were saying that she was basically trying to tell developers to hide information from gamers. And if that really is the case, then I'm not going to agree with this at all. Because again, transparency is huge for me, and the gaming industry lacks it sorely lacks transparency. So I want to see what she says in this video, and kind of we'll kind of formulate our opinion together. Let's formulate our opinion together. Let's go. Let's do this. We're talking about the gaming industry. Oh my God, we never did that before.
People were asking, well, how should the Avowed art director address Elon Musk and his post on X? There were a lot of thoughtful comments and very long posts. Today, I would like to thank you for those comments, and I would like to address a few of the questions that were asked. Nurshcast writes, how do you think the guy...
Yo, Elon Musk in this picture looks like a gooner, bro. Like ultimate gooner. It's fucking great. Look at that. Who would have known, man? That guy would be the richest person in the world. Jesus, fuck.
Should have responded to Musk's comment. This is a great question. First, for context, the art director of the game Avowed, which is set to ship later this year, decided to post some comments publicly about his game. Apparently, there are pronouns in the game, and Elon Musk reacted on X, saying that having pronouns in a fantasy video game is utterly unacceptable. To which the art director responded, I wanted so badly to make him mad with my game, and I cannot believe it actually happened. Just wait until you see the default, you said little shit.
People don't like you very much, do they?
Here's the problem. So
what are we thinking Avowed's going to actually be successful? Because I'm not thinking it's going to be successful. And here's the reason why. It's not because of namely the pronouns or anything like that, because I'm sure there is worse things in that game. I'm sure. The fact that the art director is basically talking shit to Elon Musk and saying, just wait until you see what else. Like, just wait. We already know the game's going to have crazy shit in it. If you want an example of what a woke game probably looks like, you might want to look at Avowed and see what they do with their video game. But that's besides the point. I got to imagine that this game is not going to be successful for the simple fact of it's a brand new IP. And the only established thing that they have for it in any sort of way is the developers, the studio behind it, which is Obsidian Entertainment. Right? Obsidian obviously has an established history of pretty decent games. So that's all they're riding on, because otherwise they don't really have anything, right? Avowed is a brand new game. So I really don't think the game's going to be very successful, but I guess we'll see.
Social media is like a chainsaw. You can get a lot of work done. It's a very powerful tool, but you can also cut your leg off. It's very dangerous. You can literally kill yourself. So you need to be careful. If people care about your game at all, which I hope they do, you are going to get criticism.
Ice Kurt, I know it's set in like the Divinity universe. I understand that, but for a lot of people, they're going to consider it, to be. I'm sorry, Pillars of Eternity. I understand that it's in that like universe, but still, people are going to consider it to be a brand new IP for the most part. New name, unheard of by anybody, kind of a thing. No established history to it whatsoever. That kind of a thing.
About the game online, there are some gamers you will never please. But focusing on them is not where you should spend your time. If you react with ridicule, sarcasm, or scorn, you're allowing the bad actors, your detractors, to set the narrative of your game. You're signing on to it by arguing with them. And here's the problem. It's an amplification move. So they are going to give it back to you 10x. And a lot of these people have nothing better to do than argue with you on the internet. You, on the other hand, have a game and a team to take care of. Dealing with anger is one of the classical problems of human existence. Acting with emotion isn't going to win the day. It never does. As Marcus Aurelius put it, how much more harmful are the consequences of anger and grief than the circumstances that aroused them in us? But I get it. It's definitely tricky. When you're working with a team on a game that you love and someone says something that's very hurtful, it's easy to get defensive. At the same time, I don't think he should have responded. I think he should have let the game speak for itself. A great game.
I agree with that 100%. This is not going the way that I thought this video was going to go. A lot of people made it seem like she was trying to say, well, again, we haven't seen the whole thing, so let me not talk too early. But for what she's saying so far, I agree. The game should speak for itself. These developers that are out here attacking people left and right and making such stupid fucking PR for their video game is dumb. It is absolutely dumb. But let's see what else she's got to say, because I'm sure it's going to get better. Let's see what's got.
Will survive a controversial choice. Jonathan Grover writes, I appreciate your insight and perspective and have really been enjoying your content. And also, as a dev myself, I find the rhetoric towards the end of this video deeply concerning. It strikes me as victim blaming and allowing bad actors to control the discourse surrounding a game. I agree with you, Jonathan. You shouldn't cede the narrative of your game to anyone. You should be responding as positively as possible. And that means if you're going to respond to criticism, you need to do so in a positive way. You need to be thinking about, how do I persuade people to my way of thinking, to my viewpoint? And you should always leave the door open so that maybe you can even bring in your biggest critic. When Total Biscuit first reviewed Gotham City Imposters on his YouTube channel, he was critical. He had a lot of complaints about the game. He was right. It was a fair review. We didn't get mad. Instead, we fixed things and then went back to him and asked him to review it again, which he did. And I always really appreciated that he would do that. It was very fair of him.
There you go. That's actually kind of similar to what happened with Stalker 2. If you guys know, like Stalker 2, I loved Stalker 2. I had a great time playing Stalker 2. But unfortunately, I ran into a game-breaking bug that still to this day is not fixed, and I cannot progress and finish my game. And because of that, I left them a negative review. I cannot recommend that game if it's so fucking broken that I cannot continue my progress. And I thought that was fair. But to bring that to what she's saying, the developer actually responded to my negative review. And the developer didn't go crazy, didn't attack me, didn't anything. The developer actually gave me a very respectful response and made me slightly hopeful for them to fix the issues. But ultimately, still releasing the game in such a broken state is not a good look, and I can't support that. But at least the developer did, respond in a way that made me feel as if, anyway, they took in what I was saying and could at least sympathize with it to some extent. But at the end of the day, it's still their fucking fault. They're the ones that did it. So
that's fair, isn't it? It is currently 1 on 5. 1 on 5.
If the art director felt compelled to respond, then he could have said something like this. Elon, we're really sorry that you don't like the design choice that we made, but we felt that it was important for our customers, our fans, to have as much customization as possible. And this was just one choice of many that will be available when we launch our game. I hope that you'll give us a try because we think we've made something special. If they didn't want to respond directly, they could have done an interview where they talked about all their customization options. They could have made it something exciting. They could have done a video of their own. No interview, just do a video. Showcase every cool customization option in Avowed. Get people excited about what's coming.
Oh my God. Like, why is that so difficult? Why is that so difficult? These people would rather talk about the stupid nonsense that they put into the game than actually showcase anything to get people excited. And the sad thing is that the gameplay that they did showcase for Avowed, from what I remember anyway, looked really fucking janky. Looked very glitchy, looked very like day one launch Fallout 76 kind of thing. Where I looked at it and I'm like, how is this a modern day game? The graphics look like they're from 2010, and even then it looks very dated. The gameplay itself looks very janky. The animations are fucking terrible. How can I get excited over this? Like, how is this your best foot forward? How is this what you said was going to get players excited? So I wish they would focus more on that instead of focusing on what the game is going to offer for diversity or whatever other nonsense.
Here's the thing. I personally believe if the Avowed art director wanted to make Elon mad, it would be far more effective to turn a negative into positive sales and press coverage for your game. The truth, though, is that I've been around a few billionaires and they're in their own world and they have very little time, so we probably wouldn't have noticed.
That's true.
Rimshot Killer writes, at what point does it become unreasonable to expect the devs to be professional and turn the other cheek? At what point do we have to acknowledge that the attack or criticism has crossed the line and therefore give the devs the chance to answer honestly and tell the other to shove it? Thanks, Rimshot. Here's the deal. Game developers should always act professionally. There is never a time that they should come to work and act anything but as their best selves. And game
Too bad that's not happening quite often. Too bad that is not happening pretty much almost at all these days. Very few are acting in any kind of respectful way, professional way. It's just not happening, unfortunately. But again, I agree with her. I think developers should be acting in a professional way. I think developers should not be attacking their potential customers. But let's be real here. These developers, most of them, they don't view you as a customer. They don't view you as a customer. None of them view you as a customer. They view you as a problem most of the time. They view people like me as a problem most of the time. You know what I mean? They don't want to make a game for any of us. They want to make a game for themselves, and then they hope that it sells. Like I told you guys in a couple of streams ago, I said the biggest issue right now is that developers are making video games and they're making them without knowing who their target audience is going to be. They're making the game first and then they're trying to find the audience instead of thinking about who the audience is going to be that they're going to make their game for, and then completely, go for that audience and then hope that word of mouth spreads outside of that audience. So they don't have an audience when they're trying to make a game. It's fucking stupid. It's the worst business strategy ever.
Game companies, they should have policies around how you interact with the public, both in social media and in person. And the thing is, most companies used to have these policies, and I don't know what's going on that they don't seem to have them anymore. When I worked at Xbox, we would get ready for E3, and the first thing that we would do is gather everybody in a room that would be attending. And in that meeting, we would explain to them that the minute they got out of the building and headed to the airport, they were now acting as an Xbox representative. They were no longer in a private situation. If you think about it, a flight from Seattle to LA is going to be filled with partners, competitors, and press. And if someone were to talk about a feature at the airport, it's very possible that that could end up as a headline 2 days before you even have your show. Not only that, E3 was a lot of fun. There were bands, there were parties. Game developers like to have a good time. And so part of the reminder to staff was that they were there to represent Xbox and they should act accordingly. Getting drunk and revealing a game feature or giving an interview to someone without approval could cost you your job. Look, being respectful doesn't mean letting the internet haters dictate how people talk about your game. You should be doing that. But don't react. Don't let them set the narrative. You set the narrative. If you love your game and your team, you should be talking about what makes it great and why you made the choices you did and persuading them that you've made something that they're going to really enjoy. And most of all, make a great game, because at the end of the day, that's all gamers really want.
You had to sum up video games.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you guys. I don't see anything wrong with anything she said. I don't. I was looking for and trying to see anything that she would say about, hiding and whatnot. I don't see anything wrong with anything she said. Ultimately, she's telling people to be professional. She's telling people don't engage, don't fight with people, and let your game speak for itself. That's basically it. I don't see anything wrong with anything she said, and I think I'm not going to call it base, but I'm just going to call it common fucking sense. You know what I mean? I'm going to call it common sense at that point. You would think that these fucking developers would have that in their mind to act like that, but let's be honest here, right? She's not exactly a young lady, number one. Number two, she's come from a time that was probably a lot more calm in terms of like political, division and whatnot. And she's probably a little bit more classy than a lot of the developers out there right now that don't act like that. So even though, she would say, don't attack, don't engage, don't whatever, I'm sure that a lot of the younger developers out there are probably looking at her and be like, I'm not listening to this bitch. Fuck this bitch. I'm not going to listen to these chuds. I'm not going to listen to none of that stuff. I know what I'm doing. Fuck Elon Musk. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I got no issues with what she said. I thought it was pretty straightforward and pretty much common sense. And I'm not going to disagree with that at all. I agree with that. Like, you should not be attacking your potential customers. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And it's only happening in the entertainment industry. Movies, TV shows, and video games. It's happening all across the board in entertainment where they decide that the course of action is to attack the people they tried to sell the product to. And then after attacking the people they tried to sell the product to, they got mad that those people didn't buy the product. And then they look at them and they blame you for not buying it. It's like, this doesn't make any sense, man. What are we doing? Why are you doing that? It's so stupid. So in any case, I'm sure that at the end of the day, she doesn't agree with what a lot of the negative conversation that's happening right now in the gaming industry. Because like she said in the video, she flat out said, don't let them control the narrative. You set the narrative and obviously just make a great game. And I agree with that. But she also probably does side with them for the most part, which is fine. She's allowed to do that. But there is a way to handle yourself professionally, obviously, if you are a, gaming industry representative or whatever the case may be. But see, here's the problem. And I'm going to end it with this. The developers and the journalists and all these people who are supposed to act professionally, they thought that the way that they could separate themselves and allow themselves to act ratchet and not have to be professional and not get fired over it was to put in their Twitter bios, my thoughts are my own. My opinions are my own. My viewpoints are my own. They thought that by doing that, that's going to somehow shield themselves for not being a representative of the company they work for. That just makes no fucking sense, bro. If you're going to have the title of your job in your Twitter bio, and then next to it, you're going to have my thoughts on my own, that doesn't make sense. You can't say I am XYZ at Xbox, but then say how much you hate gamers, and then you're like, oh, my thoughts on my own, though. That doesn't make sense, bro. It just doesn't make any sense. You clearly are representing your company, even at the smallest level. But in any case, you know what? Fine. I kind of like that. I kind of like when they do that because it gives us a transparency that they don't want to give. And what she is advocating for, unfortunately, also means that we get less transparency in the gaming industry. And I'd rather these people be honest about the disgusting piece of shit that most of them are. I'd rather they be honest. So that way we can look and see, oh, okay. So this team hates us? That's good. That's good to know. You know what I mean? Because how are you going to silence all these community managers that clearly hate everybody they work for? It's insane. Anyway, but it wasn't a bad video. Not a bad video. And shout out to Laura. Not bad at all. All right, let's catch up on Super Chats, and then we're going to do a waifu battle. But we're going to make all the